Hi, everyone. I want to just shout out you real quick. It's a little bit long. It's about 22 minutes, I think the video is. But I wanted to just, give you my 2 cents, the night before this inauguration. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Follow if you're on TikTok, like, comment, share my videos, and to everybody who has followed me or subscribed so far and has commented on my videos and liked them and shared them. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much, more than you can know. I'm really trying to build this platform to inform people, but I'm also building it for us. My plan is to eventually start interviewing you guys. I want to learn about you. I want to hear your story. I want to hear what you're struggling with, and uh, you know, what what issues and what policies, what programs, government programs are important to you and why. Because I think that there needs to be a platform like that where our leaders can go to hear from the voting public. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, but I'm also trying to educate and inform. So I very much appreciate, you following and liking and all the things. I am trying to get 1,000 follows on TikTok so that I can hold lives, and I need 50 subscribers, I think, on YouTube so I can hold lives. I have 29 right now. The My YouTube channel is in the link tree. If you want to go there and follow me on YouTube too, I would really appreciate it. Or subscribe on YouTube. Sorry. So without further ado, here are my thoughts. Hi, everybody. So I was cleaning the house, and I was listening with my earbuds to a podcast by Stephen Hassan, who is a cult expert. Stephen wrote a bunch of books, including one called The Cult of Trump. But he used to be in a cult himself called the Moonies, and he got out. And ever since, he's been trying to help people escape high control groups and understand how high control groups operate so that they don't become marks themselves. So that's something I've studied extensively, and someday I'll make a video and tell you about my experience in a high control situation, and how I got out and all that good stuff. But he was taking calls from some of his subscribers because he was on this live, and they were talking about how they felt on the eve of the inauguration and how stressful it feels. And I was just compelled to come on here and make a video to explain my journey over the last couple of months and what brought me to start making these videos and what brought me to the place of peace. And it's not like total peace, but it's as good as we're going to get for now, that I'm at right now. Because when we feel like there's nothing we can do, we feel helpless. And that helpless feeling amps up the fear. But if we're doing something, and there's a lot we can do. We can volunteer at a homeless shelter, right? Or a woman's shelter, an orphanage, a soup kitchen. We can start a group, right, of like-minded people to like lean on each other. We can start a political action committee, right, to champion certain policies that we want to see implemented, right? Certain, like, women's rights or LGBTQ, plus rights, or you know um, a certain bill that's coming, that's going they're trying to pass. Like, maybe we want to fight to make sure the ACA is not repealed. So there's a lot of different things that we can do. There's local elections and special elections that are coming up, and you can volunteer for those and like get involved in politics at the grassroots. I highly recommend that because there is a lot of power in that, and your local leaders have a an outsized effect on your day-to-day lives. So it's important that you get involved in school board elections and county commissioner elections and your state reps, right? And gubernatorial elections. We have one coming up this year in my home state. So, and I'm going to be involved in that because it's important. Who our governor is extremely important, and it's really going to be important in the next 4 years. So Stephen, who was actually in a cult himself called the Moonies, some years ago, he is talking a little bit about people who say, "Well, don't you hope that Trump does a good job and like fixes everything?" And he was saying, "Yeah, of course, I always hope for the best." But given his track record, right, of lying and never holding up his end of any deal, I am not hopeful about that. And he starts to talk about how people react in stressful situations, right? They either fight, flee, right? Fight, flight, freeze, so nothing, right? Or fawn. And I feel like what we're seeing from like the media and the oligarchs and like some of the celebrities and stuff like Snoop Dogg and a bunch of other celebrities that are just like kissing the ring is the fawning thing. Like that's their reaction to the stress and the fear that Trump brings with him. Stephen gets a question from one of the people in the live, and here it goes.
I'm trying not to panic, losing sleep again, and feeling helpless. Where to even start? I've been involved in local politics and even our progressive leaders, also co-opted by big money. JC, I hear you.
I feel like a lot of us are in this place and have been since the election, where we didn't really know, and maybe we still don't understand our place in all of this, and we're exhausted, right? Because we resisted we resisted for 4 years already. I mean, almost 9 years, and we're feeling kind of like hopeless because there's a lot of people bending the knee, right? There are a lot of people that were with us in the fight all this time, and then as soon as the election was over and Donald Trump was crowned the winner, they folded, right? They folded just so quickly and all ran down and kissed the ring. I mean, Snoop Dogg, like, yeah, Joe and Mika, right, from Morning Joe, like just so, all the oligarchs, right, that in the first term pretended to stand against him. But if I'm being honest, I kind of think it was like a wink, wink, nod, nod. Give us our tax cuts, and then as soon as they got the tax cuts, they understood the writing on the wall and then turned against him like openly, especially after C-19, right? And now they want their tax cuts again, and he's threatened them all, and the Supreme Court has given him immunity to do anything he wants under the umbrella of official act. And they're scared and they're fawning. They are in the fawning stage because that's their response to the danger that they sense. So if you think of yourself in danger, right? The fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Some people are freezing. They don't know what to do. They're just contracting. My mom is, she's always been like very active. She always made sure she watched, all the media, and kept apprised of all the goings on, and what Trump was up to, and what the Republicans were up to, and what the Democrats were doing to fight against it. And she was extremely involved. And after the election, she's like, I'm done. She was like, I don't have it in me anymore. And so she's in the freeze slash flight mode, right? And I don't blame her. I did the same thing. Immediately following the election, just for my own mental health, I took a break. I deleted all my social media apps and didn't watch the news, and I didn't want to know. Like, I was angry, if I'm being honest. I was like, that's what they wanted, that's what they voted for, they can have it. Like, I hope they get everything they voted for. I hope he does everything he says. Um and I was of that mind. I was. And then I remembered, reading books by Stephen Hassan, and sitting through videos by Mark Vicente, who was also in a cult and also does everything he can to try to wake people up, um, from the slew of mind control that's all around us through advertising, from our government, from both sides of the political coin. Uh, and then I'm like, I can't, right? I can't. I have to I have to stay alert. I have to know what's coming at me. I have to know what's coming at my family. And I started paying attention again. I re-downloaded all the apps, and I started watching people like Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske at Secular Talk. And I started watching um, Brian Tyler Cohen again, David Packman, and Midas Touch. Sometimes I don't really like that Midas Touch does those bait and switch titles, right? The headlines that aren't really factual or genuine. I don't know. Um, but I understand why they're doing it. It's the algorithm, right? It's to get views on their content because what they're doing is important. So I understand it. I just I don't like it. I feel like I'm being tricked, right? And I don't like that feeling, especially because now I'm more aware of it because I studied high control groups so much and cults and all that stuff. But when I came back, I changed my whole attitude, right, towards politics. And prior to the election, I was very, very much of the opinion that the best that we could hope for was for our Democratic leaders to play along with the oligarchs and the rich and the corporations, give them, some of what they wanted, and work around the edges to help the working class. And that's the best that we could hope for. But working around the edges hasn't worked. The neoliberal version of the Democratic Party has not worked. We keep losing voters. People are just sitting out. They're sitting, they're they'd rather not vote at all because they just feel like it's going to be the same thing no matter who's in office. Now, I don't actually believe that, not for a second, but I understand why they feel that way. And so when I came back, I started digging down into it, and I'm like, well, who's been consistent, right? Who's been consistently fighting for the working class? And it's been Bernie Sanders and AOC and Katie Porter, right? And Elizabeth Warren. And they're still doing it. And we haven't really supported them. But I think it's long past time, right? That we need to support these policies that they've been championing for their whole careers, and to like encapsulate it into a easily just an easily digestible package. I just say they're for FDR, so Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Second Bill of Rights. The Second Bill of Rights is a it comes from a speech, the State of the Union speech of 1944, that FDR gave like shortly before he passed. And it pretty much said that as part of the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, included in those rights is an something that we understand as like an economic bill of rights. So in order to have those things and to pursue happiness, we have to have opportunity. So what he said was that every citizen was entitled to a decent job where they could make a decent wage and have a roof over their head, to have a home, to have good health care, to have a good education, to be able to start a business and sell their goods in a free market, without the stifling of free market competition and undue influence from the wealthy. Jonah has just put his 2 cents in. Um, and that's where I'm at now. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm going to champion. And so my goal is to champion all working class people, regardless of what side of the political spectrum they come from, because something that I understand and I know you guys understand, and something that a lot on the MAGA side do not understand, is that our ships are tied together, right? We're all really on the same boat. We're really in the same boat together, and we're going to sink or we're going to rise together. Uh, those policies that Trump and Republicans are going to put in place to take away our health care, our Medicaid, our Medicare, Social Security, the things that we and our families, rely on to make ends meet and to be able to survive, they're going to hurt us all, regardless of who we voted for. And so that's my part, is to educate and inform people and to champion these ideals that FDR laid out under the Second Bill of Rights. And if you haven't heard his speech, it's actually was recorded, even though it was 1944. You can just Google it, Second Bill of Rights or Economic Bill of Rights, and listen to it, or you can read it. There's transcripts everywhere of it. I highly recommend it. But yeah, I I am trying to move forward with kindness and compassion and patience, and I am very much a work in progress. So sometimes I might get frustrated and sometimes I might sound off, right? And I'm always going to try to be mindful that my ultimate goal, that is to help all working people succeed and to push for policies that will help us succeed and to make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share and that the policies and the programs that have long ensured the working class, the poor, the middle class, had multiple opportunities to improve their lot in life are protected. And so that's what I can't like focus on everything, but I can focus on that. And I can do as much as I possibly can to try to achieve those goals. So that's what's on my mind tonight as I watch the snow fall outside my window. It's pretty deep out there. I would say it's probably about 3 inches, 4 inches. Um, and as this weird inauguration gets held tomorrow inside because it's too cold, which is weird, I honestly think it's about crowd size. It is. I mean, he was obsessed with crowd size. He, from what I've seen and I've read, a lot of the DC hotels still have plenty of rooms available, and that never happens, for an inauguration. which is very telling that even his own people aren't interested in coming to see him be inaugurated. It's very odd. I mean, not none of them. I mean, there's people there. They're disappointed that it's inside, but yeah, something is very weird with that. Um. Anyway, I'm not going to, go on another tangent about his crowd size and the indoor thing, but it's just odd. Um. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. Like I've always had this mindset, and I kind of forgot about it and lost my equilibrium a little bit after the election. But I always had this motto like the world and the country is too big. Like I always think about this movie. It's called The Core, and I must have watched it a million times. And it's not probably a really well known movie. It's about this group of like ragtag scientists and astronauts that go to the center of the Earth to restart the core. And there is like a Russian guy, and he's talking to like the pilot or the commander, and he was like, and she's like, it just seems too big, right? Saving the world seems too big. And he's like, "Ugh, what are you talking about?" He was like, you see this? It was a picture of his wife and his kids. And he was like, the whole world. He was like, that's too big. He said, it's too big for anybody. He said, saving the whole world. He said, I'm just trying to save three people. So it always kind of stuck with me. And so I've always been of the mindset, and this is since the first Trump administration, that I can't deal with, there's nothing I can do about the world. There's nothing I can do about the country and what's going on in DC, but I can make my little splash in my little part of the world and my little part of the pond. I don't know. There's like mixing metaphors, I understand. But yeah, like I can deal with what I have in front of me. So I can do what I can do for my community. So just like I said in the beginning, I can take care of the things that are around me, right? Local elections, I can volunteer, I can help out my community, I can take care of myself and my family and make sure that we're healthy and strong so that we can be of service to our community and to our country. I can join, local groups fighting for specific policy changes, and I can volunteer for local and state elections, you know, congressional races, state legislatures, which are really important, right? Your state legislature draws the maps every 10 years after the decennial census. The next one's coming up in 2030. So whoever is in the majority in your state legislature, will draw the maps. And they've been just gerrymandered all to heck because in a lot of states, Republicans understood the assignment and they made sure they held those state legislatures when it was time for those maps to be drawn. Um, Barack Obama's actually been working on this since he left office, doing like really concentrating on state legislatures because of the gerrymandering and the map drawing and all that kind of stuff. Um, so that kind of stuff, focusing your attention on that will really, really help you, and it will help your state and it will help your community. And it's like a trickle effect, right? Like a domino effect where doing that helps the entire country. And by healing the country, we put our country in a place to help the rest of the world. So I hope that was helpful. I'm sorry it was a little long winded, but I feel like there was a lot of components to it. And I kind of needed to get that out. and I hope it's some of it or all of it or a piece of it is helpful for you, as we face this eve of the inauguration of the second term of Donald Trump. So take care of yourself, guys. You know what I say: eyes up, eyes open, right? We're ready for this. We got it. We got it.